Welcome to this episode of the Twin Sister Docs podcast. Thank you for all of our returning viewers, and thank you to our new viewers and listeners. I am Dr. Elena McDonald, board-certified general pediatrician.
And I am Dr. Delana Wardlaw, board-certified family medicine physician.
And together, we are the Twin Sister Docs.
Today, this episode, we're going to be talking about healthy eating, because you are what you eat. Very important. You know, we always talk about the 3 pillars of being able to live a healthy life, and eating is right on the top of the docket. Eating, exercise,
And
sleeping,
proper sleep.
Yes. So with your diet, you know, it's a couple of things that come into play here. One, not only what you eat, but portion control, how it's prepared. And so we really have to make sure that we are in tune to making sure that we are having a balanced diet, making sure that we are getting good amounts of fiber in our diet, making sure that we are getting fruits, vegetables, making sure that we're getting protein,
Yes.
making sure that we are getting
Carbohydrates.
Yep, and make sure that we're getting water as well, right? So we have to make sure that we're having a well-balanced diet. Now, we also have to make sure that we're getting in fat as well, because not all fat is bad fat, but we have to be mindful. So those are fats that are no good for you. You really do need to make sure that you're reading labels, because that's the only way you're going to be able to tell what you are eating. You have to look at the back of the label. Now, you have unsaturated fats, like you have, avocados, and you have, olive oil and things of that nature, where the unsaturated fats are, and
Healthy.
omega-3s are used for, are better for your health. So, not saying you need to avoid fats altogether, but making sure that you're making wise choices with your fats.
And you're
Right?
picking healthier fats.
Picking healthier fats. And I always, pictures worth 1,000 words sometimes. And so when we are talking about fats, when we talk about the saturated fats, we're talking about when we were all younger, well, when Dr. McDonald and I were younger, we would have a can of oil on our
Counter in the
our
kitchen.
counter in the kitchen. And so we know that when you dip it out,
It's a solid.
it's a solid, right? But when you put it in that hot pan, it turns into a liquid, right? And then, we always save the oil. I don't know why, but we always save the oil in the can.
That's what many black folk do.
You put the oil in the can, and guess what? A couple hours later, it cools down, and it's a solid again. But we were cooking with that food, but guess what? You better not do with that oil. You better not put it in the sink. Because if you put it in the sink, it clogs the sink.
Pipes.
It clogs the pipes. And guess what? It clogs your heart arteries as well.
Yes. Yes.
So I say that to say that any oil that turns into a solid once it cools down
It's
is
not
no
good
for you. So like olive oil, it's a liquid, whether it's in the pan under hot heat
Mhm.
or whether it's on the counter in the bottle. It remains a liquid at all times. That is the better choice for you.
So when we're talking about healthy nutrition, we're always talking about making sure we're getting in our major food groups. And if we always go back to the pyramid, remember the food pyramid. And when you look at that pyramid, the base of the pyramid is wide and the top of the pyramid is narrow. So the top of the pyramid is going to have things that you really should not eat too much of. So that's going to include foods that are high, your fats, your sugars. But the base of the pyramid is you're going to have more fruits, more vegetables, more protein. So that food pyramid gives you a visualization of what you should be eating more of to maintain a healthy diet. And really don't like to talk in terms of diet, because the word diet indicates that it's going to come to an end. And what we're really talking about is a healthy lifestyle. We're talking about consistent, healthy eating behaviors that you can maintain for a lifetime. So we're really talking about lifestyle commitments here.
We also, we talked about, knowing the difference between the fats, but you also want to make sure that you are limiting the sugars as well, because sugar, again, it stores as fat, and we want to make sure that we are reducing the amount of sugar that we are incorporating into our diet. So again, we have to make sure that we are reading labels, because you'll see a lot of packages that say low in fat, but it's loaded in sugar.
Yes.
So you have to make sure you read the label, or to say low in fat, but it's loaded in sodium, because sodium is another issue that we have to be concerned about.
And sodium is another name for salt.
Yes. Salt. Thank you very much, Dr. McDonald. And so we have to be mindful of the salt, the salt/sodium content as well. Again, reading the back of the label, the average amount of sodium on a regular in a diet on a regular day should be approximately anywhere about 2,000 to 2,300 milligrams. However, the average American diet is about 3,500 milligrams. So you really want to be mindful of that, because we do know that sodium is, it can lead to issues with elevated blood pressure. It can have an effect on people who have issues with their heart, with fluid retention, and things of that nature. So again, that is another ingredient or food that you need to be really paying attention to when you're including in your diet.
So, and when we talk about sodium, we often find a lot of sodium in processed foods.
Yes.
So, and processed foods are those foods that they add these extra ingredients so that the food can last longer and you can prepare the food quickly. But processed foods is not the healthiest option for you.
Yeah.
So you will often find certain types of foods, the mozzarella sticks and then the chicken nuggets and the ramen noodles. The ramen noodles are loaded with sodium.
Ramen noodles.
Many of our children and teens love ramen noodles, but it is packed with sodium. So when we're talking about healthy nutrition, the things that you really want to limit that you are consuming is fat, sugar, and sodium. Those are the big three things that you really need to pay attention to. Want to make sure that we are eating fruits and vegetables as close to their natural state as possible, what they look like when they have grown out of the ground. Once you start to add different additives and sugars and things to the fruits and the vegetables, and you're adding butter and you're adding, a creamy mix to it, you are taking a healthy food and you're making it less healthy. So we want to be careful of those things. And when we talk about sugar is found in many of the fluids that we consume, is found in many of the cakes, the cookies, the junk food that we eat. So we have to be very careful about the amount of sugar that we're consuming, because as Dr. Wardlaw say, the sugar can lead to storing fat.
So what you just mentioned, Dr. McDonald, the liquid sugar.
Yes.
The liquid sugar is, we could drink a bottle or a can of soda, and that can have 40 grams of sugar in it, just like that. You drank 40 grams of sugar, and then you eat on top of that. So it's really easy to consume liquid sugar and not be very mindful of it. So I implore you, please, the sodas, the juices, the lattes, the frappuccinos, the Powerades.
Yes.
So you have to be mindful of all these things and look at the label, because if you don't, you are doing yourself a disservice, because the sugar could be, you look at the back of the label and you're like, my gosh, I didn't realize there was that much sugar in there. So the only way to know is to read the sugar. So please be mindful of the liquid sugar, because that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Liquid sugar.
And when we talk about, we continue to talk about healthy eating, when we talk about protein, protein is key part of your healthy eating plan, because protein is great for building muscle. Protein is great for building muscle. And so that's one of the building blocks for you to live healthier. Great sources of protein include chicken and turkey, lean beef, eggs, certain nuts, beans, Greek yogurt, peanut butter, fish. So we can find great sources of protein for us to consume on a daily basis. But we want to be careful. You don't want to make a good protein to a bad protein. Example, grilled chicken breast is great. Now, if we decide we're going to fry that chicken breast, then now we've taken that good protein and we've made it a not so healthy protein. So we want to be careful as to how we are preparing our food, because that is important also. If we're grilling our fish, if we're baking our fish, but if we decide that we're going to fry that catfish, and we're going to add the flour and the cornmeal to it, that's going to make your protein not so healthy anymore. So we have to be careful as to how we prepare our meals.
Yeah, meal prep is key. Again, so if you can grill, if you can bake, if you can broil it, even if you can air fry it.
Yes.
So those are better options than deep frying the food. Protein also keeps you satisfied longer.
Yes.
So that you're not reaching for that extra snack or that extra meal as soon as you would without the protein. So proteins are a key source of your diet.
Right. And another key part of our diet are our grains, our carbohydrates. But we want to make sure that we're eating good carbohydrates. We want to make sure that, that the carbohydrate, because too many carbohydrates can also lead to unnecessary weight gain. So when we're talking about when you are eating your grains, and you want to make sure that you're eating more wheat bread versus white bread, the brown rice is better than the white rice. So we want to be careful as to what type of carbohydrate that we are consuming. We certainly need carbohydrates. We want to make sure that we're eating a good carbohydrate.
The other thing too is you want to be mindful of eliminating entire food groups.
Exactly.
Right. So we don't recommend that you eliminate entire food groups unless you absolutely have to. I mean, if you're allergic to peanuts, yeah, guess what?
You can't avoid
peanuts, right? But not saying that you have to eliminate. I'm not going to eat anything white anymore, or I'm not going to eat any sugar, or I'm not going to eat anything that has any saturated fat in it. We're not saying that you have to eliminate all, everything 100%, but
you have to cut back.
Moderation, everything in moderation, and you have to be mindful. Again, Dr. McDonald alluded to it earlier. We don't like to use the word diet or the term diet because that implies that it's temporary. At some point, you have to end the diet. We want you to make changes that you can continue keep up with, that you can consistently maintain, and try not to change everything at once.
Right.
I really do recommend, when I'm having conversations with individuals, don't try to change everything at once, because that's a recipe for disaster. So again, try to make small changes that you can maintain and then build upon. And so when I have conversations, I say, what is one thing that you can change today?
Yes.
And if that is, I can eliminate, drinking my sodas 3 times a day. I can cut them down to once a day, right? So you can start working in that direction. Or I can start packing my lunch for work 3 days a week as opposed to ordering out, every day of the week. And then you build upon that. And then you start, please, make sure that when you go grocery shopping, make a list, because we all know when we go into the grocery store, and
these are people still go to the grocery store.
Wow.
Some people use the Instacart. Some people have it, sent to their homes. But for some of us who still go to the grocery store,
that would be me.
Make a list and try to stick to the list. Otherwise, you're just picking up stuff that you really don't need. And try not to go when you are hungry, because then you're really picking up stuff that you don't necessarily need.
Yes. And sometimes, we have other people in the market with you as well, whether it's your maid or whether it's your children. You get up to the counter and you got a whole slew of things in your cart that you didn't even notice was there. So, just be mindful when you go to the grocery store as well. And again, portion sizes are key. And you have to, and if some people, want to go on, they'll go on a, certain times of the year, people go on fast, whether it's for a religious fast or whether it's for, other reasons that they go on a fast. These things are temporary. These are not meant to be long term. When it comes to healthy eating, you have to make sure that it is something that you can
maintain.
Yes.
So the key thing is that you want to make small changes that you are consistent with.
Yes.
Because if you're consistent, those small changes will lead to big results.
Yep.
So as Dr. Warlaw said, you can't wake up one day and say, I'm not going to eat. I'm just going to stop eating all those foods that I love because it's just not, I can't do it anymore. Now, that might be a great goal, but the likelihood of you maintaining that goal is very low. Now, I love cookies and I love chips and I love all kinds of fast food, but that's not good for me. So I cut back on it. And one way I definitely cut back on is I take my lunch to work every day. But what I tell people is that, I take my lunch every day for 2 reasons. One, I can't afford financially to eat out every day. 2, I can't afford the calories to eat out every day. So I take my lunch every day, and my lunch is pretty healthy because I'm meal prepping when I take my lunch. However, if someone brings pizza in there, guess what? I'm going to eat the pizza
Mhm.
because it's readily accessible. So that's another thing that we have to be aware of. If we want to cut back on certain unhealthy foods, you need to physically remove it from the home, because as long as it's there, then you're likely going to find yourself nibbling on it, eating small amounts here, small amounts there, then the whole bag is gone. So if you only have to go into your kitchen and grab something, more likely to do it. If you have to get into your car, go around the corner, go to the supermarket or walk down the street, that may be too much work and you're not going to do it. So you want to actually remove the easy access to certain things that are not healthy for you.
And that's human nature. I mean, if it's there, most people are going to, take advantage of
Yes.
the access. So again, just, putting things in place or removing things so that it makes it easier for you to not give into those cravings or not give into just easily snacking. Now, when we talk about, what we're eating, we'll just give a couple of examples of portion sizes. So you have to read the labels appropriately, because some labels will have portions where it's just talking about one portion size. But then now, as of recent, the FDA has allowed for some labels to tell you what the entire package, how many serving sizes are in that entire package, and it'll tally up the calories and things of that nature. So we're going to show you a couple of examples. So
this is important why you have to read labels. You need to absolutely know what you are consuming.
So, for example, this right here, we have a bag of barbecue chips. And so this right here talks about calories, 150 calories. And it has 180 milligrams of sodium, and it has 16 grams of total carbohydrates.
How much fat?
And total fat, it has 9 grams of total fat, 2.5 grams of saturated fat. But it does say here that it does not have any trans fats. So that is very important to note, because trans fats are no good for you. They notoriously clog up your arteries. So you want to make sure that if you see trans fats on a label, leave it. Don't even bother taking it out of the store, because that is not good for you. Now, what you will notice on here is that this is just talking about one serving size. This product has 8 serving sizes in it.
And how much is in one serving size? We'll tell you.
So one serving size is about 13 chips.
Yes.
So you have to be strategic. Like, you can't sit here and eat this whole bag, right? Because then you're eating several calories. Got 150 calories times 8.
Yes.
So you're eating several calories. So you have to be mindful. You have to read the label, and you have to make sure that you portion that. You do it like you do your children. You portion this out, put it in like a little Ziploc, put it in a baggie. But don't sit on the phone and eat this bag of chips. Don't sit in your car and eat this bag of chips. Don't watch TV and eat this bag of chips, because before you know it, you have over 1,000 calories from a bag of chips.
Right. And I always tell my children, don't eat out the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Don't eat out the bag. And now sometimes my son will catch me, Mommy, are you eating out the bag?
Yeah.
Are you eating out the bag, Mom? And because I've tried to teach them healthier habits, because again, it's very easy to eat 4 or 5 portions without even noticing it if you're eating out of the bag. So oftentimes I tell my parents, if you can afford it, then you want to buy individual single serving bags. So a lot of times they will sell them at these stores, and you can buy big boxes of them, and you can portion it out. So for example, this one here, this is one serving size. This one serving, again, you have to read your labels. It has 150 calories in it. It has 8 grams of fat. It has 1 gram of saturated fat. And as Dr. Warlaw pointed out, 0 grams of trans fat. However, this is one serving size. So when this bag is done, you know that you've eaten one serving size. When you eat that bag over there that Dr. Warlock just showed, you're going in and out of that bag, you'll have 4 or 5 servings in a blink of an eye. That's why, if you can help it, get the individual serving bags, and that will help you control your portions. Now, if you eat 3 or 4 of these bags, then you've defeated the purpose. Yep. But you have a visual cue that I have eaten one bag, which is one serving size here. Okay. Now, there are, as Dr. Wardlaw also just mentioned, there are now where you have a bigger bag. Mm-hmm. Not only does it has one it has the amount of calories and fat and sugar for one serving. It would also tell you if you eat the entire bag, one serving is 150, the entire bag is 430 calories. So again, read your labels. Your labels will tell you exactly what you are consuming. And again, if you can eat one single bag, one serving size bag, that's ideally what you want to stick to. Do not eat out of the big bag. It's a bad habit.
Now let's talk about liquid sugar. Sodas, soft drinks are examples of liquid sugars.
Fruit drinks.
Yes.
All of those.
The iced teas.
Yes.
The
lemonades.
Yes. All, yeah. So this is 1.25 liters, right? Now this says that you have calories, 150 calories in it. Sugars per serving, 41 grams of sugar. 41 grams of sugar. Now, this serving size right here is 3.5 serving sizes. So if you have 40 grams of sugar, 3.5 serving sizes, you're already getting over 120 grams of sugar
just in this one bottle.
This one bottle, liquid sugar. So please, please, please be mindful. Read these labels. So what I would encourage, don't get a bottle this big.
Yes.
Because if you open it, there's a good likelihood that you will drink the entire bottle.
Because one serving size is usually going to be about 12 ounces.
Yes.
12 ounces. So if you are drinking 3.5 times that throughout the day, you are drinking way too much sugar. So again, it goes back to one, we certainly want you to eat. We're not driving home the message we don't want you to eat, but it's really about what you eat, when you eat, and how much of it that you're eating. And you have to make sure that you are loading up more on the healthier proteins, your fruits, your vegetables, your carbohydrates, making sure you're getting your sources of calcium, and limiting the sugar, the fat, the salt, and focusing on drinking more water. Water is always the healthier route.
Make sure you drink your water. You read that label of water. Total fat, 0. Total sodium, 0. Total carbohydrates, 0. Total sugars, 0. Water is your friend. Water is your friend. Okay?
Yes.
So you want to be mindful. You want to be mindful. You want to be mindful.
And when we talk about serving size and plates and portion control, what I always tell my families is that your plate should be colorful.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that your plate can be colorful is if it has colorful fruits, colorful vegetables on there. So you want to make sure you're loading up on the fruits and the vegetables. And we use this plate. I often will use this plate. This plate is just a visual reminder of the things that you really need to be focused on. You have your proteins. Again, you're going to have your chicken. You're going to have your turkey. You're going to have your beef. You're going to have beans, nuts, Greek yogurt. Your vegetables. Vegetables, so pretty, so colorful. Same thing with your fruits, okay? And then we also have a spot on here for your grains to eat, okay? But what you don't have a spot on here for is a bunch of junk food and fast food and fried food and processed foods. So we have to be very strategic as to how we plan our meals, because if we don't, we oftentimes end up making bad food choices.
Yep. And so just be very mindful. Read those labels. I cannot stress enough. Please read your labels, because again, that's the only way you're going to know what you're getting inside your body.
And the other thing is too, is that, I always tell my patients, if you eat healthy 80% of the time, then you can eat some of those not so healthy foods that you love 20% of the time. Now, a couple things. Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Memorial Day, a wedding, birthday parties. Those are not the times to say, I'm not going to eat any of those types of food, because if you are eating healthy most of the time, then you can go out and you can do those things. So it's really not those days where you're going to be consuming lots of foods, and some of the food may not be the healthiest.
Mm-hmm.
But again, those are every once in a while. So again, eat healthy 80% of the time, and then you can eat that non-healthy food 20% of the time.
Yeah. And so now we're talking about the diet. I often get questions about nutritional supplements. And so I really want to just spend some time on that, because one, every nutritional supplement is not for everybody.
Yes.
Two, because it's natural does not mean that it is always
Good for you.
right. And so you really do need to have a conversation with your physician so you can know what your conditions are and if some of these supplements can interact with your medications, if it can exacerbate a medical problem that you have. And knowing that, a lot of times supplements, things that people are looking to get like omega-3s, you can get that in salmon, you can get that in trout, you can get that in tuna. You're looking for the vitamin A's, you can get that in the green leafy vegetables. You're looking for the vitamin C's, you can get that in the citrusy fruits. You're looking for the vitamin E's, you can get that in the nuts, the seeds, the oils. So you can incorporate these things into your diet.
Mhm.
Now, there are some supplements that I hear about on a regular basis. B12. Doc, can I get a B12 injection?
Doctor, we really need the average person or patient that comes into your office requesting B12 injections. Do they really need it?
Well, so right off the top, I don't know if they really need it, but guess what? There's a way for me to check, and I can check your labs and see if you need a B12
Supplement.
supplement, because if you have enough B12 in your body and additional, it's not going to add you any additional benefit. And so this is where people have to be careful. Yes, B12 is very beneficial, and we do know that there are some patients and there are some conditions or some medications that can make your B12 level low. And we do know that there are some people who have like some different types of anemias, or they're taking certain types of diabetic medications that can make their B12 levels low. We know B12 deficiency can cause a variety of symptoms. It can cause fatigue. It can cause numbness. It can cause tingling. It can cause, some balance issues sometimes. So vitamin B12 is important. However, not everybody needs vitamin B12 because a B12 injection because they want to lose weight. Because I hear that very commonly as well. And again, I can determine if my patients need a B12 injection or a B12 supplement because I can check their blood. So the same thing with, go ahead, Dr. McDonald.
So really, I mean, one of the key messages that we want to drive home is that everybody does not need extra supplements.
No.
So you really need to be having a conversation with your doctor to determine if you need these extra supplements or not. A lot of times you can get the vitamins that you need in the food that you eat. So again, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Just because your cousin, your grandmother, your girlfriend, your aunt, they're taking a certain supplement does not mean that you should be taking that supplement. Again, you should be talking to your doctor before doing any of these things.
I can't say it any better. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. You just can't assume that you can just go ahead and take something that somebody else is taking and or assume it's safe because it is over the counter. I would also like to comment on CMOS. I hear that very commonly as well. CMOS, it helps with gut health. It can help with metabolism. But CMOS also, you have to be careful because it can interact with your thyroid. So if you have a thyroid condition or you're taking thyroid medication, you just can't assume that these things are
Good for you.
good for you. So you have to have a conversation. Turmeric. We see turmeric. It helps with inflammation. It helps people with their arthritis. But turmeric can also affect somebody who's taking blood thinners.
Yes.
So you have to be mindful of these things. So please just don't take it haphazardly to just reach over the counter and pick up these supplements because
somebody somewhere suggests that you should take this so that you can be healthier. And as far as children, parents will often come in and ask, does my child need to take an extra vitamin? They're a picky eater. The average child does not need extra vitamins. We know children can be picky. Toddlers can be picky, very, very picky. Half the things you offer them, they won't eat. Keep offering them healthy things. You want to get them in the habit of eating things healthy early on. Now, there are certain instances where you do need extra vitamins. For example, newborns who are 100% breastfed. Breast milk, we love breast milk. And as great as breast milk is, it does not have enough vitamin D in it. So infants who are exclusively breastfed, mothers or fathers will be instructed to give daily vitamin D to their newborns. Also, around 9, 12 months of age, we often will check the hemoglobin and to see if the child is anemic. If the child is anemic, oftentimes it is from iron deficiency, or it could be from other causes. But if we need to supplement them with iron, we will give them iron. But again, we're not just going to give this recommend these medications if your child doesn't need it. So now there are certain conditions where it will make you vitamin deficient, and we have to supplement those vitamins. For example, well-known condition is cystic fibrosis. Those children need to take certain vitamins every day. So again, your average child is not going to necessarily need vitamins or supplements unless there is a specific reason. So it always goes back to making sure that they are eating healthy foods and having a well-balanced diet.
Well, thank you, Dr. McDonald, because I know that, again, I know you commonly hear it. I commonly hear it on a regular basis. Yes, if you need the supplements, absolutely, but not everybody needs a supplement. Too much of something can also lead to a problem. We also want to make sure it's not interacting with your medications and causing problems with your current medical conditions.
Yes, and as we start to wrap up this episode, a couple things we want to make sure that we remind you of. Again, we want you to eat, but making sure that you are making healthy food choices, making sure that you are reading labels, making sure that you are monitoring your portions, and making sure that in general, your goal is a healthy lifestyle. We're not doing things for short periods of time and then going back to bad habits, okay? Because unhealthy eating habits can lead to chronic medical conditions. It can lead to obesity, it can lead to diabetes, it can lead to high blood pressure, it can lead to heart disease. So we want to give ourselves the best fighting chance, and healthy nutrition is one of the best ways.
And before we wrap up, one other thing I would like to say, we also have to realize that one's appearance on the outside does not always guarantee that they are healthy on the inside. So when we're talking about diet and making sure that you are not only following a healthy plan, but also making sure that you are getting to your physician to making sure that you are being checked for conditions that can ultimately be affected by your diet, which Dr. McDonald just mentioned. So you need your blood pressure checked. You need your cholesterol checked. You need your blood sugars checked. So you need these things evaluated so that we can, make sure that you're not developing or you're not, having these conditions that could be harmful to your health.
And one last thing, parents, we talked about the picky eaters. I frequently hear from my parents, my child won't eat the fruits, they won't eat the vegetables, but they will eat the chips, they will eat the cookies, they will eat all kinds of snacks. And parents will say, well, they won't eat the healthy food, and I want to make sure they eat something. Something I tell my parents all the time. You cannot force a child to eat. And I am certainly not suggesting that you force them to eat, because that turns into a whole nightmare. But what you can do is make them hungry. And when you make them hungry, they're more likely to come back and eat what you have to offer. And when you offer them something, it can't be, are you going to eat the chicken or the cookies? You're going to lose to the cookies every time. It can't be the French fries or the peas. You're going to lose to the French fries every single time. So your job as a parent is to teach your child what are healthy eating habits. If you let them train you, that is not going to be a great outcome for you. So you have to train them. Again, you cannot force them to eat. Make them hungry, and you give them healthy options to choose from.
And with that being said, as adults, we have to set the example for our children, because as my mother always said to us, your children might not always do what you say, but they will always do what you do. So if we want our children to lead healthier lives, then we have to set the example and make sure that we are providing them with healthier options.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to eat your fruits. You have to eat your vegetables. You have to drink your water, because again, your child will follow you.
And so with that, thank you for tuning in to the Twin Sister Docs podcast, and we will see you at our next episode.
All right. See, it was a lot to cover. I knew he wasn't going to get this way, too.